Good morning and welcome, my friends. Today is storytelling time. The date is April the 1st, 2024. My story starts at March 1st, 1995. On March the 1st, I had left to go to Austin, Texas to pick up my son from my ex husband's house. And I was still fighting for him because I love him. And anyway, I meet him at Denny's, and my son is there, and my son says, "I'm hungry." And my ex husband said, "You're too fat. You don't need to eat." So I told Johanna, says, as soon as we get to Bastrop, we'll stop and we'll eat. Well, when we got to Bastrop, he was asleep. So I kept on driving toward Katy, Texas, where we lived. And we got to Brookshire, and there was a truck stop there. Well, I had a very low opinion of truck drivers, to say the least. Um, so we pulled into the truck stop to get something to eat. And I looked across the booths to the other tables, and I saw this man. He had a gray hat, gray shirt, gray pants, had the gray skin snake trim on his hat and on his belt, and he wore gray boots. Well, I don't know if you understand the word possession, but he possessed my soul. He just grabbed me and didn't let me go in my mind. Okay. So from that day forth, every time I got a chance, I would go back to that truck stop because I decided that minute when I saw that man that my next husband would be a truck driver. And I quit cooking, started going out to eat. I would get up in the middle of the night and I would go sit on the hill at Fry Road where it intersected with I-10, and I would just watch the highway. I bought me a CB radio. I put it in my car. When Jahan would go to Austin, it was one weekend that he went to Austin, and I got in my car and I drove all the way to Beaumont on I-10. I went into the truck stop. I looked around. I saw nothing. So then I drove 59 toward Corpus Christi. I got tired in Victoria, so I stopped and went to sleep in the rest area. Then the next day I came home to greet my son. And it was things like this all the time going on. Then my daughter-in-law, we took off. Oh, well, I think it was before she was my daughter-in-law. Or maybe it was after. Can't remember. Anyway, we took off and we went to Camp Lejeune. I stopped at every truck stop. I looked. I saw nothing. Then we drove up to Washington, D.C. I looked. I saw nothing. And when we were coming back, we went through Jacksonville and down I-10 to get back to Houston. I stopped. I saw nothing. And it was like I was going so crazy. My mind was so, there was a song, I'll have to find it. It says, a cup without coffee is nothing. A nail without a hammer. That's only the words I can remember, but I'll look that word up. I'll look that up. That just really drove me crazy, that song, because I knew my next husband was out there. And then on March the 31st, I reached my limit. There was nowhere to go. I got in an argument with Donna and I took off for New Orleans. I'm leaving from Houston. Well, about 12 hours later, I made my truck stops. I wound up in San Antonio, Texas. Totally different directions. And I checked into the hotel because I was tired. But I was in the state of mind where I was laughing and I was crying. It was like my next stop would be a telephone pole. I was that distressed. And my mind was crazy. So the next morning, I went in for my breakfast. I got some hot milk. And sitting next to me was what I call a Santa Claus truck driver, because he had the long beard and everything. He was trying to talk me into getting on his truck so he had somebody to wash his windows. But right in front of me, he had his back to me, didn't see his face. He was talking to a guy across to the other counter. And that guy wanted to be a wannabe cowboy. And I remember that I had a dream a long time ago that the restaurant was like a horseshoe, where the booths in the seats were in that horseshoe shape, and the waitress would come down the middle. And I was in the petrol truck stop, and that's exactly how that was. In my dream, I was talking to my Aunt Ann and my Uncle Bob. But that was so many years before that it just kind of connected. So, anyway, as Bob was talking to this wannabe cowboy, he said to him, "Well, I'm stuck in San Antonio for the weekend." And I went, "Do you want to go to the Riverwalk?" Huh. And so he got up to pay for whatever he ate, and I got up to pay for my milk. I was standing behind him. I said, "Do you want to go to the Riverwalk?" Huh. And then we went over by the shoe shine stand, and I pulled out a business card. And I said, "Do you want to go to the Riverwalk? If you want to go to the Riverwalk, you call me." And I took my last few dollars and I checked back into the hotel and I waited and I cried because he never called. So I got up to eat my supper. I went back into the restaurant. It was totally full. There were 2 empty chairs. And I took the first one. I was getting my hot milk because I needed to calm myself. I mean, I was nuts. If you ever seen a nutty person, that was me. And he comes in and he sits down next to me. And I tell him, "You want to go to the Riverwalk?" So we got up and we got in my car and we drove to the Riverwalk. And we got Mexican food. And I was so nervous. But that feeling of possession was gone. Whatever had a hold of me was gone. It was vanished. I could breathe. But I couldn't eat my food. I was so nervous. So when I asked for a plate to go, the guy just picked up my plate and put it in the bag. And then we started walking down the river. And I'm going, "Why him, Lord? He's old. Why him, Lord? He wears boots. Why him, Lord? He's wearing a Ritter shirt. Why him, Lord?" And anyway, we spent the rest of the night just talking. And then finally he says, "Well, I got to go to Houston." So I said, "Okay, I'll follow you," because I got to go that way too. So we stopped in Brookshire at that same restaurant and we talked. And he loved Star Wars and I love Star Wars and he loved this and he loved that. And finally, it was time for Jahan to come home. And I told Jahan, I said, I have a surprise for you. And Jahan was all excited. And I said, this is Bob. And then I handed Bob a lot of candy, sent him on his way. And so that was April the 1st. Well, by then it was April the 2nd. April the 1st, I met him. And so I had to go back to work on Monday. And I walked in. I did have a boyfriend. His name was Fred. And Fred said, how was your weekend? And I went, I met someone. You know, he wasn't a good boyfriend. He was mostly company or something. You need Fred. And I said, I found someone. And by Saturday, or it was Friday, I believe it was Friday, 5 days later, I handed my secretary my pager and I says, if you need me, call me. Here's the keys to my car. And I told my daughter, I'm going to the airport. I'm going to Des Moines to be with Bob. Donna says, no, you can't do that. You can't be with somebody 24 hours. Anyway, I went to Des Moines and I get off the airplane. Oh, when I'm flying over the clouds, there's a thunderstorm and the lightning is everywhere. It was just like the whole world was just being blown up with boom, boom, boom. Anyway, I get to Des Moines and I'm going, what if he's not here? You know, what if he's not here? And I'm walking down that long white hallway. And at the end of the hallway, there he stands. And then we go somewhere in Des Moines and we eat a hot dog. He said those are the best hot dogs. And then from there, we drove into Manhattan. We had a load of meat. And he got out and he turned off his reefer. I mean, we got meat and he turns off his reefer. And I'm going, why are you turning off your reefer for? And he says, because if they see you have a reefer on these cars that have platforms on them coming, they steal your cargo from you. I'm thinking to myself, why aren't the police stopping this? If they see a platform car, they should know what's going on with these trucks and these cars. Anyway, it was a very interesting trip, but I want to back up. When Mom and I were talking, when I was sitting on the corner of Fry and I-10, his truck was down in the rest area. When I got to Beaumont, he had already left. When I got to Victoria, he was dropping a load. When I went to Camp Lejeune, he was 40 miles away from me. When I went to Washington, D.C., he was in that vicinity too. So when I was looking for him that month, everywhere I went, he had been there or he was in close proximity. And never seeing his face, because all I saw was the back of his head, I knew he was the one. I knew it. So we decided to marry on April the 1st of the next year. And I mean, there's so many stories in this, and I'll probably tell more stories. I was married to a man who gave me everything I wanted: nice house, nice cars, nice rental properties, nice lake properties. And then I met Bob, so poor, but so happy. We even watched Halley's Comet pass. Took a few days. But I never wished on a star to be happy with Bob. I wished for some food sometimes, or the electric bill to be paid. But other than that, I loved Bob. He made me so happy. But the day we were getting married, I can't turn my phone on. I was up in my room and I was getting dressed. Oh, shut up. Shut up. I'm sorry. I was looking for something and I didn't turn that off. I apologize. But anyway, when I was up in my room getting ready to marry this man, the radio came on. I would love to sing this song to you, but my voice just doesn't get everything of this song, and I really mess it up. And when I heard this song, I went, yes, this is so true. So I want to read the words to you. And remember, I don't see well, so I will stumble. So let me get this where I can see it. It was no accident, me finding you. Someone had a hand in long before we ever knew. Now I just can't believe you're in my life. Heaven smiling down on me as I look at you tonight. I tip my hat to the keeper of the stars. He sure knew what he was doing when he joined these two hearts. I hold everything in my hands. When I hold you in my arms, I got everything I'll ever need, thanks to the keeper of the stars. Soft moonlight on your face, oh, how it shines. It takes my breath away just to look into your eyes. I know I don't deserve a treasure like you. There really are no words to show my gratitude. I tip my hat to the keeper of the stars. He sure knew what he was doing when he joined our two hearts. I hold everything when I hold you in my arms. I got all I'll ever need, thanks to the keeper of the stars. It was no accident, me finding you. Someone had a hand in it long before we ever knew. And I went, oh, this is our song. But we were marrying that day. And there was another time when we were talking when I was substitute teaching at Northside High School in Fort Worth. He was delivering food there. So he had been close to me for 10 years, just never knowing, you know. Love has strange ways. If you think you'll never find a true love again because your husband married a 23-year-old and left you to the wolves, and your life is devastated, and he won't feed your kid because he's too fat. You don't know when Cupid's going to show up. Anyway, we married, and then we moved to his home state of Oklahoma. And I wish I were there right now. It was so nice. He bought me 10, no, I take that back. He bought me 5 Longhorns, 4 cows, and a bull, and they were all teenagers. And it was so nice just having Longhorn cows. And then he bought me 125 chickens, little babies, and 24 turkeys. And the 24 turkeys was my first experience of death with farm animals, because when the mailman brought them, the poor babies had froze to death. And so they sent me new ones. And then he bought me 6 rabbits. And they were back of the Suburban, and he built the cages for them then. And I was a city girl. I wasn't a farm girl. I didn't know what to do with all these animals. But I loved the rabbits. And the chickens, they were interesting. And the bull and I got along really, really fine. I would carry feed in my pocket, and Bob said I would have to quit doing that because the bull would knock me down for the food. So I had to give up that pleasure for safety. But then Bob bought me 10 one-day-old baby bulls. Oh, have you ever had 40 feet walking on your feet when you're trying to give 10 bulls a bottle? Anyway, Bob built the fence and got the coffee cans and put the baby bottles in it. That was really nice. And then the things we learned from the cows, fixing them, and from the bulls. You know, it was just such a cool life, watching my little baby chicks grow up and have babies. And I'm looking, oh man, they're teaching their babies how to eat. Nobody taught them. And I wound up with 50 does and a bait shop. I'll tell you that story. I mean, right now I could just go on forever, but I just want to say thank you to my Father in heaven for giving this man to me. But he went home in 2010. And I think during the 14 months of his cancer, we grew even closer together. And he never let me know that he suffered. And he kept doing things that he needed to do the best that he could. Those are other stories. But when I think of my Bob, I have such great joy in my heart. And this joy that I have, I would wish it on anybody, just to feel this love, this companionship. Here it is. He's been gone 14 years, and he's still right here. And I'm going to close my video here because my tales are long, and I've already taken 24 minutes of your time. Love you, and God bless.